I need my money, plain and simple.
Furious, devastated, the woman says she's been waiting on the village of Dolton to send her a check for missing payments for months.
Yep, it's gotten that wild. Hey guys, welcome back. So by now, you've probably heard Tiffany Henyard is no longer the mayor of Dolton.
It's all depleted now. So now we're in a complete rut now, and they don't even understand the positions that they have put us in.
Dolton, Illinois. Even though she had big plans to stay in power, saying things like, "I'll always be your mayor, your supervisor, and the one and only super mayor," reality had other plans. But just because she's out of office doesn't mean the drama's over. In fact, her influence is still causing chaos in the village. Take this woman right here. She was a vendor hired under Tiffany Henyard's administration, and she's not holding back. "You've been hoodwinked, bamboozled, misled," she says. Why? Because according to her, she hasn't been paid in 4 months. That's $12,800 owed. Gone without a trace. Shananya Willil Newick says she took pride in serving the village of Dolton, especially its police department. Her business, TNT Cleaning Solutions, was brought on in 2023 to handle cleaning duties for Dolton PD during Tiffany Henyard's time in office. According to her, everything went smoothly at first. For the first 5 months, payments were consistent, on time and in full. But then, it all just stopped. No warning.
Not even an email sent, not even partial payment, nothing. Just no answer at all. It's just devastating.
No explanation. Not even a courtesy email. Just silence. She claims the village still owes her 4 payments totaling $12,800. So, after watching the news clip, I had to hit pause and really zoom in on those invoices, just to lock in the dates and figure out which payments are allegedly missing. Let's break it all down. As I go through each unpaid invoice, I'll also compare the due dates to the official Dolton board meeting schedule. Why? To see if this business owner ever showed up to voice her concerns publicly, either to the board or to the mayor. Because if someone's owed that much money, you'd expect them to show up at least once, right? Maybe apply some pressure, ask questions, or demand some accountability. Anything to move things along or get some clarity. All right, let's start with the first invoice. She says went unpaid. The date was a bit hard to make out.
But you guys got to connect the dots. DOTTS. Dot.
But it looks like March 23rd, 2024. That's the bill she says hasn't been paid. So now, let's check the board meetings that took place after that date and see if her name ever came up or if she ever stepped up to that podium to demand answers. So, this next clip is from a Mr. Dots meeting. And after digging a little, I found out DOTS stands for Democrats of Thornton Township. So, fair enough, he gets a pass on that. But just so we're clear, if you don't recognize him, that's Michael Smith. He was one of Tiffany Henyard's biggest cheerleaders, constantly defending her every move. Thankfully, he's not holding any government position right now. Anyway, let's move on. That particular board meeting took place on April 1st, 2024. I pulled up the full list of people who got up to speak during the public comment section. And as you'll see, nowhere in sight was the vendor woman. So, she didn't attend that meeting to bring up her unpaid invoices. Okay, maybe she was tied up, or maybe she was giving the village a little more time to come through with her money. So let's jump to the next board meeting, which was on May 6th, 2024. Once again, I went through the list of citizens who stepped up to speak. And again, she wasn't there. No sign of her addressing the board or the mayor about missing payments. Now, let's check out the next invoice. This one dated May 23rd, 2024. She's claiming that one wasn't paid either, so I pulled up the board meetings after that date. June 3rd, July 1st, and August 5th.
Then they turn around and have a secret squirrel meeting at the Park District.
2024. And still, nothing. She never showed up at any of those meetings to question where her money was. Then comes another invoice, this time from August 23rd, 2024. Now, this one was harder to verify because the news segment blurred part of the document. But based on the context, I'm assuming she's saying this one also wasn't paid. That's when I started thinking, wait a minute. Didn't some of the trustees start holding meetings at the Park District? So I attended the board meeting on September 12, 2024, and guess who pops up? Now, some of y'all might recognize her, but in case you don't, this woman's name is Cassandra Hobson Jordan. Yes, she ran for mayor too. Spoiler alert, she lost, and honestly, thank goodness she did. Because Cassandra? She's like Tiffany Henyard turned up to 100. Same antics, just louder. To prove it, I'm about to show y'all a side-by-side clip of both women talking. Watch closely. The mannerisms, the tone, the attitude. It's uncanny. You should be glad someone is running for mayor and giving you an option and trying to help build this village back up. You should be glad you have a mayor that looks the part, plays the part, and acts the part. I'm going to continue producing my videos. I'm going to continue showing receipts. I will state facts. I'm going to keep producing receipts. And then she goes on to say, and the sad part is, it's a lot of you seniors. I've never seen so much hating and mess from older people in my life. Women in their 60s and 70s acting like straight-up fools. You're older than me. You should know better. Yeah, that's what we dodged, Dolton. Thank God folks saw through that and didn't give her a shot. Anyway, back to business. I checked all the speakers at that board meeting. Vendor lady still didn't show. So we move on to the next one. October 7th, 2024. Now, based on that first invoice I showed you, dated March 23rd, 2024. We're talking almost 7 months of unpaid work. You'd think by now she'd show up, right? Wrong. Still no sign of her. Then we get to the final invoice, dated October 23rd, 2024, marked as unpaid. And finally, ding, 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 she shows up to the board meeting. I'm a vendor here in Dolton. I'm not a resident. I was previously cleaning the police department. We are owed 4 months of pay. Even when we weren't being paid, we still showed up every day and did our job. Now listen, I've been trying to understand this. Seriously, who keeps showing up to work for months knowing they aren't getting paid? Personally, if I'm not getting paid, I'm out. I've got bills. I'm not clocking in on faith alone. So I started thinking, why would someone stay silent for months and keep working? One explanation? They were getting paid under the table and didn't want attention. Or maybe someone from the inside kept telling them, just hold tight, the big check's coming. Whatever the case, it's not smart business. It's not even common sense. You don't work for free on a promise. And here's what else might have happened. Tiffany and her crew went rogue. They may have given this woman a contract without any board approval. I know. Tiffany always plays by the rules. Insert sarcasm. But let's be honest, that woman's made a career out of bypassing process. And the vendor lady? She's not alone. Let's talk about this other guy. He also stepped up at the board meeting to say he didn't get paid, even though Mayor Tiffany Henyard personally asked him to do work for the village. I don't live in Dolton, but I'm a contractor. I own SNS Lawn Service. I ran into the mayor while working, and she asked me to take care of some properties. So I dropped everything in my city and came to Dolton. I cleaned up 160 properties in 2 weeks. Okay, sir, but where was your contract? Did the board approve this work? Or were you just out here freelancing based on a handshake? He goes on, I cut them for a little bit of nothing. Wait, what is a little bit of nothing? That's not a number. That's not a quote. That's vibes. So now he's mad the board didn't pay him. But let's be real. The board is supposed to protect taxpayer dollars, not reward random side deals that the mayor made on the fly. That's why there's an RFP process. To make sure things are fair, transparent, and properly documented. If Dolton's finances fall apart, it's on the board, and they've got to follow actual procedures. You want to get paid? Cool. But where's the paperwork? What's the budget line item? What's the board vote that approved your job? This is exactly why RFPs exist, to stop this kind of chaotic freelancing. And this isn't just theory. Tiffany knows about RFPs. She's known since 2014. There's actual footage of her, back when she was a trustee, requesting an RFP for a board-up company. Next on my list is, I'd like to request an RFP, which stands for Request for Proposal, for a board-up company. Boom. Proof she knew. So when she became mayor and stopped following the rules, it wasn't ignorance, it was intentional. Let's get back to the vendor lady. She finally gets in front of the board and says, "We just want what's owed to us. We worked hard. We gave our time and effort. But we can't work for free. Mayor, I've watched you say at previous meetings that vendors should be paid. That's why I'm here." Translation: Run me my check. So the vendor addressed Tiffany Henyard directly about her unpaid invoices. She kept it simple. "We just want what we're owed. We've worked as vendors. We gave our time, effort, and work ethic. But we can't keep working for free. Mayor, I've seen past meetings where you said vendors deserve to be paid. That's all I'm asking, to get what's due to us. Thank you." In short, she showed up, said she hadn't been paid, and asked when she would be. Now, let's get into the responses. First up, we'll hear from Trustee Jason House, who is now Mayor of Dolton, but was still a trustee at the time. Then we'll hear from Mayor Tiffany Henyard. Trust me, their responses are like night and day. Here's Jason House's statement. Lastly, I heard a speaker mention unpaid bills. Right now, we're actively working through our draft budget. And yes, there are quite a few challenges. Still, we're committed to creating a budget that will allow us to catch up on unpaid balances. Vendors who are owed will be honored, but I'll be honest, it won't be easy. If you're a vendor, I ask that you email our village administrator, Keith Freeman, and CC me at chausavidton.org. We'll continue to update you as we move forward and get a better grasp of our financial position. So Jason explained that they're working on a budget that will allow them to pay past due invoices. He acknowledged it won't be a quick fix, but the intention is to pay the vendors what they're owed. Now, here's where I take issue. He told the vendors to reach out to Keith Freeman. And if you know anything about Keith the Thief Freeman, you already know he never should have been hired in the first place. Make it make sense. It just doesn't. Come on, y'all. This isn't an episode of The Price is Right. This is serious. Keith was brought on by Tiffany without board approval. No background check. No proper vetting. We only found out about his hiring when the agenda came out. We talked to him for 20 minutes. That was it. No background check. And even though we had implemented one, the process was ignored. So, Mayor, if you want to do things the right way, the same way you preached about for 8 years, this ain't it. You can't just drop hires on the village without board approval. All I'm asking is, stop bypassing the board. Get proper approval. That's it. That's all. And remember this? You need to learn to work with your board. Period. But of course, Tiffany pushed back. That's not true. You're saying we didn't follow process, but that's not accurate. During my interview with Mr. Freeman and Ms. McGrath, I asked if a background check had been done. At the time, it hadn't. Trustee Norwood was present as well, but just so you know, the background check is now in progress. She goes on. The current process we all agreed on says background checks are required, and the person doesn't start until the background clears. That's what's happening here. Once it clears, we can schedule a special meeting and move forward. Until then, he'll begin working in the village. And there it is. So despite all the chaos around Keith Freeman's hiring, she basically shrugged it off and did what she wanted anyway. Now, I'm not going to dive deep into the full Keith the Thief Freeman saga, because if you've been watching this situation unfold, you already know the details, and while I didn't agree with Jason using Keith as a point of contact, I understand that at the time he was still a trustee and had to follow the official chain of command. To be fair, Jason did say to CC him directly, which adds some accountability. So overall, I'd say his response to the vendor was respectful and constructive. Now let's look at Tiffany Henyard's response. A lot of y'all come up here talking about stuff you have no proof of. You say the mayor's not paying you. I'm the one who always tries to make sure vendors get paid. I'm not the one holding things up. I didn't take you off the warrant list. So basically, Tiffany got defensive, as if the vendor was attacking her personally. But from where I sat, the vendor didn't sound combative or accusatory. She seemed respectful. She was addressing the entire board, not just Tiffany. And she even said, "Mayor, I've seen previous board meetings where you said vendors should be paid for their work. And I'm just here asking for that same respect." Then came this little gem. "My attorneys told me to say this to DJ, the guy you voted for to pour the concrete. Every resident deserves their money. Pay me what you owe me. That's why I'm here." Now, this moment may have looked like a frustrated Tiffany lashing out at the vendor. But let's zoom out and look at the bigger picture. Because with Tiffany, nothing is ever straightforward. She's one of those two-faced players. Says one thing, does another. You've got to read between the lines and ask the right questions. Here's one possibility. What if this whole exchange was orchestrated? Maybe the vendor and Tiffany were actually working together, trying to create the appearance that there was no behind-the-scenes agreement, no pre-existing deal that gave this vendor a contract to clean the police station. And yes, that's speculation. But we've seen Tiffany go rogue too many times to count, hiring who she wants, spending what she wants, bypassing board approval, and doing it all behind closed doors. Now let's get back to this vendor's news interview, because there's a lot more in there that needs to be unpacked. I reached out because I believed you'd tell the story right. I've seen how you handled previous situations. You dug in, got results, and held folks accountable. That's why I came to you. Now, I also contacted the village of Dolton, and a spokesperson sent over a statement. Part of it reads, "The village is aware of the vendor's claims and acknowledges that this, along with several other agreements, was initiated under the former mayor and her administration. As we work through the aftermath of that leadership, we are actively reviewing all outstanding agreements." Then came the reporter's question. Do you have any sympathy for the current mayor? After all, he's got a lot to unravel and fix. In Dolton. And the vendor didn't even hesitate. No, not even a little. When you step into a role previously held by someone else, you inherit their mess. You don't get to pick and choose. You clean it up. That's part of the job. And honestly, that response hit me. Because what she's really saying is, leadership means accountability, no matter who came before you. Yes, It's on Jason House and his administration now. They accepted the role, and with that comes the baggage. But here's where the double standard kicks in. When Tiffany Henyard stepped into power and immediately went rogue, her supporters didn't want to hold her responsible. And that's wild, because she wasn't new to this. She had served as trustee for 8 years. She knew how things were supposed to run. She just chose to do it her own way. And that way was often reckless. Now let's get to this wild scene from a board meeting. A woman steps up, fresh off work. She grabs the mic and says, "I'm a resident of Dolton, though I'm originally from Chicago. Miss Tiffany, I've never met you, but I believe you're a queen, and I'm here to crown you." Yup, crown her. Right there in the middle of a government meeting. She continues, "People been leaving flyers on my door, and I'm starting to take it as harassment. But I'm team. Tiff, I think you're doing a phenomenal job. I tip my hat to you and everyone on that board. Teamwork makes the dream work. And it all boils down to respecting the chain of command. You have to respect it to get respect. Honestly, I think she's done a tremendous job. I see a lot of the positive things she's been posting on social media, programs for kids, women, seniors, and more. Give her a chance. Nothing changes overnight. Just so you know, this meeting took place on June 6, 2022, but she'd already been in office since May 8, 2021, over a year to adjust and get things right. Needless to say, that didn't exactly happen. The phrase, teamwork, makes the IRDs. Dreamwork really applies here. Stop trying to be the big I over the little t. It's that simple. You know me, Mr. Holmes. He's a good guy. I know him personally. Well, that statement certainly hasn't aged well. If you've been following the Tiffany Henyard saga, you know Andrew Holmes faced some serious allegations. But this lady went ahead and crowned Tiffany anyway, stroking her ego. So I have to ask, can I give you this crown? Oh yeah. Come on. Give her the crown. Thank you. Applause. Oh wow. I'm adjusting my crown, sitting on my throne just for you, baby. With scenes like this, can we really be surprised why her confidence was sky high and why she acted like she had it all locked down?